All right, we're still trying to figure out our intro, so we're just going to say something. And then, I mean, last week we did a thing, but we need to establish a thing. And I feel like you guys need to be part of it.
Welcome to So Far So Good.
I'm Gabriel.
I'm Jess.
And
this is where we do
welcome
life
to
together.
So Far So Good.
We'll figure that out.
Well, look at your shirt.
It says,
your hair is covering the whole thing.
It says, let's do life together. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening, it says, let's do life together.
If you're watching, you see that we have some spicy t-shirts on and stuff like that. But that's for another day. What is for today is you can rate this video and review. Give us a review if you're listening on any platform, really.
And if you are listening on YouTube, if you could please subscribe. My voice is cracked.
And also in the comments, you can make fun of Jess for her voice cracking. Would be very, very good. So if you're new here, we have begun to start this new podcast that we started with a segment that we will start off with. The segment's called So Good or No Good.
So Good or No Good. And I have an interesting one for you today.
Really? Actually.
So this is really, if you didn't listen to the last podcast, this is really where I itch my pop culture scratch. No.
You scratch your pop culture itch, the reverse. But no, that's okay. That's fine.
Sorry.
We're just getting the bugs out. This is a new podcast. We're just getting the bugs out, you know?
So I was just reading about Blake Lively. We all know and love Blake Lively.
Yeah, legend.
Married to Ryan Reynolds, who we all know and love.
Another legend. My guy crush.
No, I know.
There's a few, you know?
And he's up there.
He's in the top 3 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So lovely Blake Lively has, she already has, I guess, mixes. I didn't know this, called Betty Buzz. Drink, mixes.
Oh, mixers.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I thought you meant mixes like mixtape.
No.
I was like, that's cool.
So now she has come out with alcohol. She's come out with seltzers.
Okay.
Called Betty Booze.
Ooh.
And I was just reading about it. I think the story behind it is actually really sweet. She said she was inspired to create this brand because she is always making drinks for her family and friends. I quote, she says, "These are recipes I've been making for loved ones for years, but I have 4 kids now and I'm tired. So here they are in a can." However,
that's a good marketing pitch.
See, I like that. She's getting backlash though, because she herself doesn't drink alcohol. So people are kind of like,
oh,
this
interesting.
is a bit of a money grab. So
that'd be like if we released an alcohol brand.
Yes. But I think, so I guess my opinion of this is, one, I love her.
So this is the So Good or No Good all wrapped up into one.
Yes.
So this is
it's kind of
Blake Lively. Blake Lively, so good. This whole debacle that she's going through, no good.
Well, it's like,
that makes sense.
You tell me what you think of this, because in my opinion, I think her husband is a genius in his marketing. And, I think that
does he not drink either?
I'm not sure, but he does have
he has a gin company.
Aviation American Gin.
Dude, I've seen every single one of his marketing campaigns for every business that he owns. He's a genius.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the story behind her company is nice. And that's why I don't think it's such a money grab, because she could genuinely be at her house making cocktails and stuff. And that's a great, maybe one day she was I need to just make this a business.
Yeah. Listen, the story could be, and Ryan, we can write a movie about this together one day. The story could be, she used to be an alcoholic and got really good at making drinks. Mm-hmm. Then she quit. Blake Lively probably was an alcoholic, but
I know. Why does it have to be an alcoholic?
Because it's the storyline of the movie that we're making together, me and Ryan. She gets really good at mixing and stuff like that. I think that's what you call it. And then all of a sudden, she overcomes her alcoholism, but then channels her energy into entrepreneurship. Okay. She becomes this crazy businesswoman and starts her own alcoholic beverage company.
You're not blinking, by the way.
Called, I'm in the zone, baby. Called Betty's Booze.
Betty Booze.
Betty Booze. And
don't get that mixed
she doesn't drink herself, but she knows all the recipes. And she makes them for her family all the time.
Yeah. So, I guess I'm just curious as a whole what you think of all these celebrities coming out with alcohol companies, because there's quite a lot now.
Listen, it makes sense in terms, from an entrepreneurial perspective / business perspective. It makes sense to create a product that is perishable.
Totally.
Because, you know what I mean? Where you're not that alcohol is perishable per se, but you get through it. And then if you want to have the product again, you need to go buy it again.
Yes.
Hence why
Makeup.
Prime works so well, why makeup works so well for like all the makeup gurus on YouTube. Mr. Beast and Feastables, why that works so well. Because someone buys a chocolate bar, all of a sudden, next day, it's gone. Oh, I want to buy another chocolate bar again. Then they go to the store, buy another one. And it's repeatable sales rather than like an article of clothing that someone buys once and they kind of can have it for life or until they destroy it themselves or something like that. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
It makes sense, except pick another lane. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You don't all have to do alcohol
Sure.
things. But there might be a crazy thing like margins are high, people have alcohol, and it just is like, you know, a win-win for everyone.
Anyway, we love Blake over here and wish her the best. So that is the So Good and No Good of today.
All right, so what's this episode about, babe?
So this episode is really interesting and something that Gabe and I have talked, I feel like, for hours and hours and hours about. I think a lot of people will find it really interesting. It is about why we don't show our baby online.
Well, we show her online, but the back of her head.
Or the side of her face. And we're going to get into all of that, reasons why, kind of more deep.
Can you say that sentence one more time for me?
What?
We're going to get to all of that reasons why?
We're going to get into all of that, reasons why.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
We obviously probably don't need to do this disclaimer, but we're going to do it anyway. We obviously are not judging anyone who does post their children online.
I am. No, we're not.
No, we don't look down on anyone. We just wanted to put that out there first, that this is something that we've chosen for ourselves. We have personal reasons of why, and so we're just going to share that today.
Yeah, and it's different. Every parent gets to choose the way that they parent their kids.
Yeah. And we're not trying to
that is
push.
Their prerogative, and we are trying to figure out what is best for our family and our child right now. But I do expect we will. Do you want to have more in the future?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay. You heard it here first, guys.
But I also think this is such an interesting topic that maybe this will encourage people, but we're definitely not trying to push our, what we believe and what we think.
We get questions a lot about this.
So without further ado, let's jump right in.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to start with our concerns and get more specific of the why behind it. So we kind of both separately wrote things down. I'm sure they'll overlap, but do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Our producer told us to write 3 points each, but I wrote 4, and then on some of them I have sub bullets. So
I have 7.
You have 7,
but I won't say them all.
Okay, all right.
And I'm sure we've overlapped too.
Okay, well, one of mine, I feel like I wrote it down. I didn't say it the best way, but I said embarrassing moments. This one isn't that of a big deal as far as child development and stuff like that, but when your family member pulls out or your parent, when your family members are over, cousins and aunts and uncles or whatever, friends from college, and your parents pull out that old VHS tape of you running around the house naked when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my gosh. And this typically would probably happen when you're a teenager. They pull it out, reminisce on it, and you're so embarrassed. You're like, guys, don't show this to people. Mm-hmm. Imagine having that already on the internet for a decade and people have already seen it. In today's world of TikTok and stuff may have gone viral.
Yeah.
Already. You know what I mean? It can happen in an instant. And I don't want to force that on our kids. I feel like you might have a better way of saying it.
The way that I think about it is when I look back on my old Facebook statuses or my old pictures that I'd post on Facebook, and I was already a teenager at that point. Mm-hmm. Or yeah, exactly. Just embarrassing things that we did, videos that we made that aren't even online. I don't know. It's hard to imagine that a child growing up will be happy that all of that is out there. I guess everything that is being posted, it's just obviously without their consent because they're too young to do it unless they are old enough and you've asked them. But if you think about videos that go viral of a baby on a toilet, or even if they're in their swimmers or something like that, and maybe a child will grow up and be like, gosh, I really wish that video of me on the toilet wasn't on social media.
Yeah.
The other thing that is sort of similar to that topic is if they grow up not liking that stuff, right now, if someone posts a picture of us now, if a friend posts a group pic and you're like, oh, I don't like that. Can you take that down? Right now they don't have the option to have that removed.
They don't have a say in the matter.
They don't have a say in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I was researching a little bit for this episode, when I knew that we were going to be talking about this, I found an article that was talking about this in particular.
It was talking about this in specifically.
That I thought was just really interesting and like a really interesting take. And I'll just like read a little bit. I wrote, think about the message you're telling your child to post every moment for them to grow up seeing that. Like if you think about it now, it's so normal for everyone. If something cute is happening, even if something funny is happening, everyone's recording it. And I just thought that was really interesting to think that we are showing them that it's normal to post everything, to record everything.
You're being an example for your kids,
and I think
how they're going to act in the future.
I think that can turn dangerous.
Yeah.
And I have a quote from Dr. Markham, which was in a Tiny Beans article that I was reading. And it says, quote, "It's our job to teach and model online literacy and safety. When children grow up routinely seeing photos of themselves online, they think it's the norm. We're inadvertently teaching them that they have no privacy and no control over their online image." I just thought that was really interesting and something that I guess was in the back of my head, but I never really knew how to voice that.
Yeah, that like says exactly what we're all thinking. Yeah.
We are just setting an example.
Yeah, one of my things, I guess I could kind of lead into that is like all of this is kind of an experiment. You know what I mean? Like rewind to, gosh, I don't know. What's the last thing that was like one big social experiment that you kind of just had to wait? Like our generation, maybe with social media as like the teenage years where it's like we didn't know what the outcome was going to be like, and then now all of a sudden there's like these crazy rates of depression and all this sort of stuff. It's like, okay, now we're going through that experiment again, except kids who are born with like an iPhone in their face essentially, or an iPad in their face, and we don't know what the outcome is going to be like. And then now that goes into like the topic of kids just having like devices in their hands, but like when it comes to kind of like child stars on social media, you know, like child stars in Hollywood and traditional media has kind of already been a thing, but child stars on social media, it's still new. Like they're just now getting to their teenage years and stuff like that. And it's kind of an experiment, and we're not sure like what psychological damage it's going to cause or anything like that. And I would rather my child have like the tried and true way of being raised that is like doing things outside and hanging out with friends in person and that sort of like normal human interaction that's not this very new kind of untested thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to make my kid the test dummy, essentially is what I'm saying, as far as like making someone a social media star.
Yeah, I do agree. And I think there is a difference between social media child stars and Hollywood child stars. I think there's a lot of similarities, but I think even like people listening might be like, that is not the same thing. But I think it is in the term, like when we're talking about fame and being recognized and like what that does to a child mentally. And even just like that, I feel like there's so many child stars coming out recently about their experiences. I read a book recently called I'm Glad My Mom Died. And that was Jeanette McCurdy from iCarly. And there's just a lot of stories like that. I agree. And again, like I just feel like I need to preface, like we are not judging at all. But I do think it's really important to be having these conversations. Yeah,
we just think about it the way we think about it, and we're trying to make the best decision for our child. And like, but back into the fame thing, I do want to like, obviously there's a difference between like the Hollywood fame of a child star and the social media fame of a child star. Like you have way less control of your image, way less control of the things you're in. You can take advantage of way more in like the Hollywood scene. But just from like the fame aspect and like being out and about, there has to be some sort of like developmental thing that happens when a child grows up their whole life being recognized by strangers. It will for sure create this like thing of them feeling like this like mental, I don't know, normalcy in their brain that they think that they're like the center of the world and everyone knows who they are. Even if they don't know strangers, strangers know who they are because they're more important. And it can cause like, I feel like it will eventually cause a lot of like pride issues and just issues with feeling, you know, self-important and all that jazz, you know?
I think too, this conversation is interesting for us because we have this as our job, and us posting Micaiah would be giving her a platform. Whereas if you have like 200 followers on Instagram with a private account, I think it's very different.
Yeah.
But we are kind of like merging both conversations just because that's like the nature of our lifestyle.
Yeah, that probably we should put that asterisk there.
Yeah.
But there's a difference though. There's people posting their kids to share with their family and friends on a private account, not for the sake of it going viral, versus like there are parents out there who like are trying to grow a following on the backs of their kids.
Yes. Which can be dangerous. Also related to child stars. I feel like I've heard so much about child stars that support their family and that creates such an unhealthy relationship.
Yeah.
I feel like this is something completely different that we're getting into. Another note that I wanted to say that I think is very obvious is that the more you post your child online, the more like a risk of harm or like danger is coming to them. I was reading another thing.
I wrote that. That's a point of mine. Stalkers and creeps.
Yes.
Point 2. I already like went through point 3 and 4 and just like this flow of conversation, but point 2, we're now point 2, which is point 4 now.
Yeah. I had a feeling that you would have this too, but there was an article that said that 86 children were kidnapped using social media in Japan in 2021.
What?
And I just think that is so important. If you are sharing, first of all, I think, yes, what you're saying about creeps is that like, if you're posting your child at the beach in swimmers or something, like there are creeps online, unfortunately. And I wish we didn't have to, you know, change what we do for them to cater for them, if that makes sense. But they're just there.
I wasn't planning on doing this, but should we go into like what that one creep that was like photoshopping photos of you?
We can. I think it's a very real example, but basically,
I didn't think we were going to share this, but here we go. Do you want me to go and then you just correct me if I get the story wrong?
Sure.
So essentially, who told you first? How did you see this? Did you just open the DM from this guy?
I think a follower told me first, actually.
Oh yeah, that was it. So a follower sent Jess a DM saying like, hey, there's a guy sending photos to your followers of you and you being Jess and Sophia, my sister.
Inappropriate pictures
that he took real photos and then photoshopped.
I think maybe she sent me screenshots and then I went to my DMs with that same profile and they were sending them all to me too. Very, very gross.
They were disgusting.
Yeah. So they were photoshopped pictures of us on the beach, even us just like fully clothed. Like they photoshopped onto very inappropriate pictures. And unfortunately, I don't not believe, does that make sense? I don't not believe that wouldn't happen. Whoa. To kids as well.
You don't doubt that it would happen.
Sure.
There we go. Yeah, that same exact thing could easily happen to, you know, photos of our daughter.
Yeah.
Because there's people out there who would do that sort of thing. So it's like, and maybe we have experienced, because of the nature of our job and stuff, we have experienced like this crazy degree of strange weirdness and creeps. And like at our wedding, someone threatened to like show up and try and kill me. Like stuff like there's like we've experienced really crazy stuff. So like obviously we are going to be very careful, probably compared to someone who has a private account just with their friends and family. It's very different.
So different. But I still think it's very important. Like I don't doubt that there wouldn't be a creep on a 200 follower account. Like they unfortunately are everywhere. And I think if you are posting your routines, if you are posting their first day of school with their school uniform or them at a dance show, just showing their routines, I think that can be really dangerous in terms of like their physical, like, you know, in terms of kidnapping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty common and that people know that, not to like post all of the information and stuff like that, but it definitely is scary.
Yeah, no, it is. And I mean, also look at the adpocalypse that happened with, or the apocalypse, whatever you call it, on YouTube, that like all kids channels have the comments turned off still, even to this day, after that happened years ago, from like all these creepos posting like timestamps in the comments for like all the other creepos to go in and freeze frame kids videos of like these kids in vulnerable positions, or like someone, a kid dancing and does a split, and then, you know, creeps put that timestamp. It's like gross.
It is gross.
It's disgusting. And it's like, it's prevalent. Mm-hmm. It's prevalent and it's out there and it's online, and we just don't want to be putting our child like in that position, you know?
The last thing that I had as my concern, and this was one of the first ones that I like ever thought about, with this being our job, obviously it's a blessing, but there comes a lot of negativity with it, a lot of backlash, a lot of hate, whether it's like, you know, people like pinpointing what looks bad about you, people like hating on your character. There is so much negativity that comes from this job. Mm-hmm. And I think my main like purpose with all of this is to protect Micaiah from that. Like, imagine if we posted her and we're vlogging with her and doing all of this, and then in 10 years time, she can read all of it and goes back and like sees all this really harmful stuff about mm-hmm. her. Just makes me feel terrible. So,
I mean, it's hard enough for us as adults to handle it.
Yes.
Yeah. All I'm saying is it's hard enough for us as adults to kind of like really understand what our identity actually is in truth versus what social media comments are saying about us, and having that like differentiating that is so hard emotionally already as an adult, after we've had a whole childhood and life leading up to our adulthood where it's been our identities like, you know, connected to God and our family and, you know, all the rest, where we don't want to have a child who, from the age that she can read, go back onto social media and start having her mind kind of warped around these opinions about her.
I think it could be really unhealthy.
It's so dangerous. Yeah. Yeah.
I do think it's really interesting because I think us as adults can't handle all of this, even if it's like screen time, and even thinking about like me spending 2 days on TikTok and then getting so anxious. Like mm-hmm. we as adults with our brains formed like at the age that they are now, we can't handle it. And I think we shouldn't expect our kids to be able to handle that too.
And they don't even have developed brains yet or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. It's a lot. The rabbit hole goes deep.
I feel like that was all so negative, and I really hope we're not like scaring people, because I just feel like that was kind of heavy to talk about.
No, it is heavy, but it's like, it's a real conversation that you want to have. You know what I mean? Especially as parents, like it's a serious topic.
Okay. I think it's important to give some context now for our concerns and like why we made the decision that we did.
I mean, context as far as like even going farther back to like, we had kids a lot later than like a lot of other YouTube couples and stuff. And we kind of just saw what other people were doing mm-hmm. before we had kids. And we were having conversations even back then of like, oh, when we have kids, like how would we want to do it?
Yeah.
You know?
And I remember us saying like, we wouldn't want to do a family channel. Like we kind of always didn't mm-hmm. want to do that, where it was like vlogging our kids like really hardcore. But when I think about like if we had a kid in 2017, I don't think we would be doing what we were doing back then. Like we probably would be posting them. And I just think as the years have gone on, more research has come out, more like conversation has mm-hmm. happened about this topic. I don't know. Do you agree? I feel like we wouldn't.
I do agree. Yeah, I do agree. But also like, I get it. It's hard vlogging your life and then not showing your kids, because if your kids are part of your life, unless you're vlogging about something completely different, like, you know, I leave for work every day and like I'm at the office and all my vlogging is at the office and that's it, and I don't show my family, it's a completely different story than like us as a couple trying to vlog without our child, but like we need to take care of our child mm-hmm. 24 hours a day, every single day. So it's like, what are we going to film if it's not about the family? if that makes sense. So one of the solutions that we came up with was that we are not going to make videos about her or videos in which she is the main character, but it's more so our experience as parents.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like still there and part of it in a way, but we don't show her face. And it's more so about our experience as parents rather than making her the like protagonist of the story, I guess you could say.
I would say we are still working through what we are comfortable with and like trying to create this balance because this is such a big part of our life and our job that we love so much.
Yeah.
So I think like the way that I always like to say it is that it's our job and it's not her job. And like, I want to keep doing my job because I love it and we are so grateful for it, but I don't want to force her into it and force her into like having this as her job, and she doesn't really deserve that.
Jess wrote down a few tips actually.
Yeah, so I wrote down a couple. It's not like crazy mind blowing. I feel like they're all pretty simple, but just in case anyone is encouraged by this, I don't know, like I just thought here are some tips if you're a new parent or maybe if you want to make some changes. I don't know.
Is this specifically for parents like doing social media or just parents in general?
Just parents.
Okay.
My number one tip, if you can, would be keep your profile private.
So not us.
I know, like that sounds so silly coming from me, having a public account, but I just think if you kind of do want to go down this path of like, I want to post my child, but I don't want to have like creeps looking. I think first of all, we need to say that. No, I'm not going to say that.
What? You have to say it now.
I just want to say that just because you have 200 followers in a private account and it's people that you know doesn't mean that unfortunately one of them may be a creep is all I'm going to say. So I don't think you're like fully protecting them. Keeping your profile private is you have more control over who sees what.
Yeah.
The second thing is communicate with family and friends on boundaries, which is something that Gabe and I still do. And we have chats with family and friends about like, oh, we don't post her, or, you know, pretty much we have people show us the photo first if they want to post something.
Yeah, and the rule of thumb is just like don't show the front of her face.
Yeah.
With our family, and we've like communicated that, and like families had to delete photos sometimes because we're like, guys, we told you. We told you this.
Yeah, and just hopefully people respect your decision. There have been times where I don't think people have intentionally disrespected our decision, but it has happened. And I think it's going to happen. Like, I think people are just so used to posting, take a pic and post it. But I think communicating boundaries, like I would say everyone that we've talked to respects, like appreciates it. And even like friends that do social media, like know and kind of, know our boundaries with that. I guess with that, I'll just say like a boundary doesn't just need to be, hey, I'm not posting her face. It could just be like, hey, we don't post them in swimwear. We don't post them nudie Rudy, things like that. I think it can just be your boundaries in general. We don't post their school uniform, that sort of thing. Yeah. I say school uniform, but, some schools over here in America have school uniforms.
Yeah, private schools.
Yeah.
I wore a school uniform for 2 years, but school uniforms in Australia are like
different.
Down to like the socks, and you have a bow in your hair, and you have to wear hats all the time.
Okay, anyway,
what's that about?
A separate conversation.
Anyway, the weirdest thing is that when you leave school, if you're going to stay in your school uniform, it has to be all done up completely if you like go to dinner or hang out at the mall or something like that.
You're like representing the school. Anyway, separate topic.
Gosh, it just grinds my gears. I'm like, what happened to like dress how you want? Like, oh, I'm leaving school. Let me take my hat off.
Okay, tip number 3, I would just say if your child is old enough, ask their permission. Just be like, if you take a cute picture, hey, do you mind if I put this on my Instagram? I just think there's no harm in asking if they're old enough to like understand what that means. Yeah, no, I agree. Because then it also teaches them like asking someone for permission before posting something on social media is like normal, and it's a good thing, you know? Yeah. I like that. Is that all your tips? That's all my tips. I know that they're simple, but it's just like... It's simple, but it's like you kind of don't think about it, and when you verbalize it, you're like, oh, yeah, those are actually solid. Like, we should do that, you know? The conversation for us is still ongoing. It's like, will we ever post her? And we get so many questions like that too. Will we ever post Makai? Will we ever vlog with her?
Yeah.
Will we ever let her have a phone?
Never. Ever.
Not until she's 21.
Not until she's 37 and a half.
How do you feel currently about like how we are showing her / not showing her? Do you think that will change?
I don't know. We're not there yet. I don't know what that'll be like. I can't say definitively. Like there's certain things that I'm excited for. Like I'm excited to teach her how to use cameras, how to edit videos, how to, you know what I mean? And like have her learn skill sets of skills that we've developed and become really good at over the years. And then even have her help with the family business. You know what I mean? If that's something she wants to do, if she's like really into editing and she's like, I want to edit. And it's like, okay, all right.
Or like behind the camera, setting up lighting.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. Like learning how to light stuff. Like that stuff is so like sick. And like, I wish I was able to have that experience when I was a kid. So it's like, you know, if she's showing interest in those areas, being able to like bring her into that fold and teach her those skill sets and stuff like that.
I will say with that, my cousins are photographers. They shot our wedding and they have 2 amazing kids. And one, their girl, they just kind of like taught her like how to use the camera because, you know, like the husband and wife want pictures of them too. So since she was little, they would teach her like press this button, do this. And now she's so interested in photography and will like go to shoots. And the
photos she takes are actually kind of crazy.
I do think that's just so special.
Yeah, it is special. Yeah, I think it's a really, I don't know, I think it's important, especially as like people who are creative. Like our children will probably show interest in some creative capacity, and being able to nurture that I think is going to be really important.
So I agree. I think I'm really happy where I am right now with keeping her more on the private side. I do think social media is going to just be changing and like evolving. So it's hard to tell. It's also hard to tell maybe like in 5 years we will feel so different about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's levels to it too. Like, obviously, one day they will have a phone. I think we will have rules in our house, which we've kind of implemented in a way already, but I think we'll become a lot more strict with it once, you know, we have all 7 kids and they're
7.
all, yeah. So, no, but you know what I mean? Like, however many kids we have, and they're all like at the age where they are able to use devices, even if it's like, you know, there's a family iPad that they can play games on or something like that. Like I think a rule that we will have is not allowing any devices or screens in bedrooms.
Yes.
Period. Like there's the living room and that's where they're all used. Period. Like that's not, they don't go behind doors.
And I think
rooms or away from that room. Yeah.
A way to make that successful is that we also need to be a part of that. We can't be like kids, no phones in rooms, but ours are our alarm.
Yeah, and then we have a TV in our room. Like we actually took the TV out of our room. We don't have a TV in our room anymore.
I think we need to lead by example.
Yeah, I would let them have a Kindle, right?
Woo!
Because I have a Kindle in my room. No, but like that, you can't do anything on it.
I have a Kindle in my room.
Dude, I'm going wild. I got a Kindle in my nightstand. No, but you know what I mean, right? Like that is a device that you can only read on it or listen to an audiobook. Yeah. Like, there's nothing else that you can't browse the internet. You can't, it's just a device for that thing. So like, you know, create boundaries. Like family boundaries and the kind of like family systems that are put in place that will better our children and protect them, you know?
I just hope that also we can explain really well and so they actually understand instead of going like, oh, mom and dad don't let me. I really hope that they respect our experience with screens and social media. And
well, it's also like it's kind of, you can cite, I mean, I wish we kind of maybe did a bit more research for this episode because there's enough information out there now that is like proving, what was the stat that I saw? I think it's like teens who use less devices, I forget where I saw this too, but teens who use devices less often reported like an average of 13% depression rate versus teens who use devices way more often reported like a 66% depression rate. And it's like, that's massive.
Don't quote him on that, but I do
but
understand what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, and obviously I'm like kind of pulling that out of the back of my head and those numbers might not be fully accurate, but it's like becoming more and more the correlation is becoming more and more apparent that using devices and using social media is directly linked
to mental health.
And like,
I feel like we have experienced that firsthand too.
Yeah. I mean, so much of my depression has come from spending time on social media and comparing myself and all this other stuff. And obviously it's like different because it's my job. So it's like maybe even more mentally weird for me because I have to like make money from it. And then if that doesn't work out, then it's even, you know, worse mentally. But we can explain that and say like, I am doing you a disservice by like allowing you to be on social media at 13 years old. It can cause so much harm to your brain and your mind. And I don't want that for you.
I need to say, I don't even know if I told you this.
What do you need to say? I need to hear this.
To tell you.
And I need to know what you're going to say.
A family friend.
Yes.
I'm not going to name names, but
it's not name drop.
A family friend has maybe 2 or 3 kids, and they don't allow them to have phones or social media. First of all, I think that's amazing and very admirable, but they're like teenagers. And my parents went and visited them recently and just thought it was amazing because I think, you know, she might be like 15 or something. She went and asked her brother, hey, do you want to go ride bikes? And I just thought that was amazing because she's 15, which that sounds like a normal thing to do as a 15, maybe for us at 15.
Yeah.
But I was really inspired by that. And I would love our family to be like that too. I mean, don't hold me accountable to that and be like, Jess doesn't want anything, you know.
Yeah.
I do think there should be more of that.
I agree.
So will we let her have a phone? Yes.
At some point, I mean, it would probably start with like a dumber phone.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you need it to call me, call your mom.
Yeah.
And I don't know, whatever for like emergencies or whatever. But like she does not need to be scrolling the internet or anything like that.
And I think it's just hard for us now to say like, will we let her vlog? Will we let her have an Instagram? Because who knows in 10 years time, in 15 years time, what social media looks like.
And you know, I think like because we've done it, we can approach it as more of like a business mindset where if she expresses interest in like doing the thing and like kind of starting her like online persona, we can be like, all right, what you're starting is a business and what you're going to be presenting yourself as is actually a brand. You need to detach this mentally from and kind of start those conversations really early because like I didn't know, like I was just posting as me Vines back in the day and you know, it was just so different. Like my mental relationship with our work now. And it's like, yeah, it's like, it is us and we're trying to show our authentic selves, but ultimately like it's a business that we're running and it is a brand that we're like putting forth on the internet. And whether it is us or, you know, she wants to film, and I mean this for us, but like whether it is her as a personality or she wants to make videos about
gardening.
Exactly. And she doesn't show her face in it, but she's showing gardening tips. It's still like a business venture that you're setting forth on. And you need to understand that from the start. Because of our experience in this, we might be able to navigate those waters with her a little bit.
It just like gives me weird butterflies just even thinking about down the line her like wanting to do something. I'm like, honestly, I'm just so wanting to protect her from this world, but there is such a likelihood that she'll want to express creativity like that.
Yeah, that's what gets me excited. I think that's the difference between like, I don't know, maybe you as a mom.
Yeah.
You're just like,
I just want to protect.
You just want to protect her and nurture her. And then I'm like, all right, but how are we going to teach this child some like business stuff? Not business, but like, how are we going to like, I don't know, raise her into just such a competent adult?
Yeah. And I will say like, even though we have these feelings now about wanting to protect her, we also are so passionate about like nurturing her hobbies and her talents and like what she is good at, which I feel like is a completely separate podcast in like.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I will say on that has been like kind of a revelation for me recently. And since I'm going to use Christian words, I'll just kind of like lean into the Christian side of it. It's been a revelation to me. No, oh gosh, I'm like getting myself off track. No, like from a Christian side is like God has given her talents and abilities and giftings that like we don't even know what they are yet, but one day those are going to come forth and we're going to be able to try and, well, we're going to notice them, or maybe we won't, but it's our job to try and notice them and understand like the things that God has placed in her as special like interests and abilities that we as parents need to nurture, because God obviously wants to use those in her if he's given them to her.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think I was just thinking, like, say if making a video and editing is a passion of hers and she's young, I would still encourage her to do that. And maybe we just don't post them online and she can just, because you and I have so many videos, like pre-social media, that we like made and edited. And I think there'll definitely be a way to do that.
Dude, I already came up with the idea. Whenever she makes a video or whatever, obviously we can help her refine it because that's like our skill set too. And she, creates this whole thing, and then we go, all right, now we're going to host a premiere.
Oh my God.
And we do it, the whole thing, little movie room thing, all the friends come over and everyone's who's in it.
Oh, that's fun.
Like something like that. And it creates like such a more healthy environment around like, we're making videos and learning this skill set rather than like, how many views am I getting on social media at like 10 years old?
Yeah. And it's like, oh, it only has one view. Like, what's wrong with my video? And yeah. See, you're a good dad.
You're a good mom.
I thought you were going to be like, you're a good dad. Thank you.
Now, you guys, did you hear that? I made fun of you at the beginning for your voice cracking. So now that's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are moving into the Q&A. So we obviously, this is announced because you're watching this, but we have a secret 1,000 followers on our Instagram page right now. And so
what's the exact number?
They got to ask us questions for this podcast, which I just feel like would have been really exciting to be like part of this like inner circle.
Okay. So as far as like inner circle goes, I guess some history. We are pre-recording a few episodes before this podcast goes live. So we're kind of like pulling questions for the question segment from random places. The first episode, we just did a random Q&A and we were like, for a random project that we're working on, give us some questions. But now this one, second episode, we did like a little tease at the end of a vlog in which certain people
caught
on and found the Instagram handle and followed the Instagram account. So they're like the first OGs of this podcast. Yes, and we have
1,353
and they're all lit. So I haven't used the word lit since 2016. Wow. And they're lit.
Anyway, so that is where these questions have come from. Thank you guys for submitting. Okay. Do you feel like it's a trend not to show your kids on Instagram? I thought that was interesting. I'll just say really quick and then you can talk. I personally don't think it's a trend. I think what does well on social media is showing your kids. We know that from a business point of view.
Yeah.
That
there's so many videos we have of Micaiah that.
And engagement wise, like children do well on social media. They're cute. It's fun. Like
everyone
people
loves
love
kids.
seeing that.
Yeah.
I do think it's become more of a topic of conversation on social media. Like my Instagram explore page is a lot of like pages talking about like why child safety and privacy on social media is important. So I wouldn't say it's trendy. I just think it's becoming a much larger topic.
Yeah, I agree. I would differentiate between something becoming more prevalent versus it being a trend, especially like I mentioned at the beginning of the video of this kind of being an experiment that we don't know how kids are going to fully turn out, who are like super exposed on social media and stuff like that. Maybe everyone will be fine. And then that idea of like protecting your kids from social media will go away, but maybe it won't, and there will be kids who've been caused a lot of harm because they've been exposed on social media. And the prevalence that we now are seeing with people withholding their kids from being posted on social media was actually the right decision. I wouldn't like, it's hard to like categorize that as a trend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My wife and I are expecting. Congratulations.
Congrats.
What are your thoughts on child social media accounts? Like we have an account for our dog.
Yeah, that we haven't posted on in like
3 years, 4 years.
Probably. I don't even know when we posted on that last.
I think it's different. Like, obviously people that have child social media accounts are comfortable posting their kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can get tricky when it becomes a business and they're then doing like brand deals and stuff and making money from it.
Well, not even that. I think that a weird part of it is also, it's obviously like fully up to you.
Yeah.
If you want to create an account for your child, if that's like where you want to post all the photos of them so you don't like just spam your own account or whatever. And, you know, if it's a private account, but you just want your friends and family to follow it so you can share the photos of your baby.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Sick. That does make sense. It's like you give your kid their own album, but the issue with having an account for your kid and you're posting like reels or TikToks or whatever, and it's like about your kid as like the main character of this business technically that you're starting, if you're trying to like gain a following from it, their identity growing up as a kid is going to be always, they will have no memory of their identity not being connected to a follower count.
Yep.
Which is us as adults. It's so hard to disconnect yourself from that. It's like, oh, people are unfollowing me, that I'm not interesting anymore. I must not be funny anymore. I'm not creative. You know, like there's so much of it is tied to that. And that's going to be so difficult for a child to emotionally and mentally work through in their brain. Because even as adults, you can list all the reasons on paper of why the internal monologue that you're telling yourself is stupid and not correct, because you know your identity is not tied to the follower count. But
they'll be too young to be able to do that.
Yeah.
That was a really good point.
You're welcome.
Like Gabe, you're so wise. Anyway.
Thanks, babe.
What I was going to say was I think it's different. First of all, if you like are holding their account for when they're older. So they have like a username. Like if you don't post on it.
Yeah.
No, I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Since usernames are basically all taken.
Yeah. I would say that it is probably harmless if, even to the follow account thing that you were just talking about, I think it would be harmless if it was private. And it's like, these are just my family and friends who wanted to look at pictures of you. Like,
yeah,
I think that's totally different than trying to like gain thousands of followers.
Yeah.
Do you ever record moments just for yourselves to look back on in the future with Kai's cute face? Absolutely.
Our whole camera rolls are just her face.
Yes.
And there's like, I think I said this before in passing. There are so many moments that we could post that would definitely just like go viral or whatever. Cause it's like,
you're so biased.
Because we have the cutest daughter in the world.
We have so many things that would go viral because.
No, you know what I'm talking about though. It's just like not viral, but like it would just get so much engagement.
People would love it.
Maybe it wouldn't go like viral, like 50 million views on TikTok, but you know what I mean? Like
she really is such a cutie.
And yeah, I don't know. Like we are so blessed already and we don't need to try and get more views or whatever by posting our daughter.
That wouldn't be like the intention.
Yeah. But we send to our family chats and everything like that. We send photos of her and videos of her all the time. We
also have private like family vlogs that we have started to make. We only have maybe 4 at the moment, but we'll do it like Christmas we did one, Easter we did one. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, we are vlogging, but we're vlogging with her. And they're not going to be posted anywhere. Yeah. Like I have edited them and they're just for her to look back on, or like future kids to look back on later. To rewind to that before we move on, is the reason why we did that was because we love looking back at a lot of our old vlogs. Sometimes we don't because they're super cringe, but like there's moments that we like going back to and looking at that's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool that we've captured like these like moments of our life. Yeah. In such a very like personal way that it'll be cool to have those moments for her, seeing us like kind of making these little videos for her, you know? And I think that's probably a reason why a lot of people in social media or even like us would be like, oh, maybe we should post her because like then we'll have all of this to look back on. And I think our way to balance that is us having these private vlogs that that they will get to see. Something else that we were inspired to do from friends of ours was we created an email address for her. And we have sent a couple emails. Our friends, told us that they were doing it. They would like send pictures and updates. And I thought that was the sweetest idea that they will get to look back. It's kind of having like a private, you know, social media account for them, but it's just an email that they get to see, all of these moments. And like we have just like sent little emails and I would love if I was, if I had like an email address with like all of this like history, I would have loved that.
Yeah. That was a good conversation.
It was a bit heavy, and not all episodes are going to be that heavy, but it was good. And I think it's like an important.
Yeah. I'm definitely glad we had that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys are watching
on YouTube
and you've been looking at our t-shirts, things are in the works, guys.
Things
we
are
have
coming
big
soon.
things connected to the So Far So Good brand because it is a business because we are aware that we're running a brand. To go back to my later points. Anyway,
we're excited.
Yeah, we're excited. We're planning a lot of cool stuff, and it's it's been super fun. It's cool. I was telling Jess when we were going to record the first episode. What did I say? It was like, I'm just having so much fun creating something new, like doing a new project with you.
That was so sweet, by the way.
Was it?
It was like just so genuine and just like. It was just so cute. You really were just like, I'm just having so much fun creating something new with you. I was like, but it is truly, it's been really fun. I'm just excited to hear what everyone thinks.
Yeah, we have a lot of things planned. So it'll, in the coming weeks or months, more will be revealed, I guess. But we're just working on stuff in the background. In the meantime, we really hope you're enjoying these podcasts because we're having a lot of fun with them.
Thank you so much for listening. We love you guys.
And the next podcast, we have a few guests on.
Which will be so funny.
It's going to be hilarious. So stay tuned.
All right. We'll see you next time.
And
let's
do life together. I think is our outro now.
We'll see.
I don't know.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.